I'm Caden Love.
And I'm Seema Love, his wife.
And we are Love and Lore, taking dark fantasy, light fantasy, and everything in between. And today we are continuing with the Halloween season and talking about our favorite vampire books.
Oh, I'm such a sucker for a good vampire book.
And I think both of us really enjoy that trope for some reason. So, there's so many great books out there. Some that are a little more on the cheesier side, and some that are just real good fantasy or horror, whatever you have it.
So maybe today let's start with our hard epic fantasy in your books.
So, we'll start with a classic in the line of Stephen King, and that is going to be Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot was never really a book that I wanted to read too much until I started the Dark Tower series, recognizing that Father Callahan, one of the characters in that, is pretty important in the Dark Tower series. So I went ahead and read it, and just in brief, I really enjoyed the book. It was great storytelling. You got a little town in Maine, and some mysterious figures move in. Honestly, it kind of ended up being what I expected. No really big surprises, but it was great. I had a fun time. Next, if you've heard of George R. Martin, which you likely have because of Game of Thrones, you also need to check out Fever Dream. This book, simply pitched, is the Louisiana Steamboat era with vampires. Such a fun book. It is a standalone, and honestly, the way that Martin describes the vampires here, how he builds them as a separate race and has their history, it is just peak storytelling. I loved it so much, and I honestly recommend it to any book fans out there. I think this one can hit everyone well with bits of horror, fantasy, and just good general fiction. And the third book that I want to cover is a recent one that I read. This is Daniel Green. You might recognize him from his super big YouTube channel, but he wrote Neon Ghosts. This is book 1, A Witch's Sin. I am so excited to see where this goes, and honestly, just starting off, this is one of the most beautiful books I've ever seen. Wraithmarked did it, and it just has some awesome interior art, and the naked hardback. It's just awesome. So what is this book? This is cyberpunk vampires. So if you want some sci-fi with vampires, this has it all in there. But I think it is also just a great all-around Halloween read or anytime read, but more specifically the spooky season, because you do have, as it implies, Witch's Sin. There is bits of dark magic, and it is just an awesome ride for any cyberpunk fans out there, and especially those that want a little bit of a vampire twist.
So I'm actually curious, out of these 3 books that you mentioned, which one has the most and the best romance?
Salem's Lot has bits of romance because it just is in a small town, and that's kind of where the main character goes, and he gets involved with a girl there, and then things just kind of go wild.
Okay, interesting. Maybe I'll start with that one then. Because I love my romance with vampires. And because of that, I'm of course going to mention Twilight today. I never thought of reading Twilight. I never was really a fan of it when I was a teenager, but then now that I grew up and I rewatched the movies and I kind of really got the ambience, I really decided to give a try to the books, and I was pleasantly surprised. So all of my girls out there, if you haven't tried reading Twilight yet, just give it a try. It's so enjoyable. So I just cannot not mention that here. But also, today I'll give you a wide range of books. Another book I want to mention today is Dracula, which is a classic, and it doesn't have almost any romance in it, but I was, again, pleasantly surprised when we read it. I think it was our first Halloween read together, and I couldn't stop. I was so absorbed in the story, and it's so well written, and the vibe of the era and the place, it's just, it's vampiric and Halloween-y, so give it a try too.
And it's one of those foundational books that you recognize all of the tropes out there today, with Van Helsing being there, and just all of the origins of so much vampire lore just falls right in there with Bram Stoker's Dracula.
And actually, today I want to mention a book that I haven't read yet, but I've heard that it's a really good vampire romance, and it is The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I'm very curious to, if any of you read it, please let me know if you liked it. It does have some spice, which I usually don't enjoy, but I think I'm going to give it a try still because I just love vampire romance. And I think I'm going to mention it today as an honorable mention.
So, if any of you out there have good vampire recommendations, especially in the veins of fantasy or romantasy for her, let us know in the comments. We are eager to check them out.
So yeah, let us know, share your opinions, and thank you for watching.